welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria and today we're going to be talking about audiobooks. So if you were not aware, I have a neurological condition that makes it very difficult for me to read physical books, and for a very long time it made it very difficult to read ebooks as well. Just reading with my eyes was so difficult because of the swelling in my optic nerve, and it made it very difficult for me to focus on the line that I was on, to keep track of where I was on the page, and I just had a very hard time. It would give me such a headache to read, and I ended up diving headfirst into audiobooks because I didn't want to stop reading. So that was in 2020. In 2020, I didn't read a single ebook or physical book. Every single book that I read in 2020, and I read about 300 books, were audiobooks. And I love audiobooks and I will be forever grateful for what they can do for me. I have started to get my neurological condition has started to get bad again, and I have started to slow down reading ebooks again. I've been amping up on the audiobooks again, but I never stopped reading audiobooks, and I always only read like audiobook arcs or anything where I'm on a deadline. I have to read an audiobook. I can't do an ebook because I never know when my head is going to not cooperate with me. So audiobooks have just always been my lifeline. And I asked on my Instagram what people wanted to see video-wise from me, and a couple of people mentioned that they wanted a video about my favorite audiobooks. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I am going to talk about some books that I think are better as an audiobook, that if you have the option, you should definitely read on audio. And then I'm also going to talk about some of my favorite narrators. So to start, I want to talk about some of the books that I think are better on audio, that if you have the chance, definitely pick these up on audio. So the first one that I have is any of Lauren Rowe's Rockstar romances. So that is Smitten, Swoon, Rockstar, and The Hate Love Duet by Lauren Rowe. If you didn't know, Lauren Rowe used to work in the music industry, and she produced music. And in those books, with the Rockstar romances, she produced music for those audiobooks. So in the audiobooks, there is music in them, and it's so good. Honestly, there are 3 songs that are in her books that are on my liked songs playlist on Spotify because I like the songs that much. I would definitely recommend reading them on audio, especially the Hate Love Duet, just because both of the characters in that one are musicians, and there are like 4 or 5 songs just in that duet, and the audiobooks are so well done. The narrators are perfect, and the way that their voices mesh with the characters is just perfection. You get the gritty voice of Adrian Savage, and then the sweetness and yet sassiness of Layla Fitzgerald, and it's so good, and they mesh so well together, and I would just absolutely 100% recommend that duet on audio. If you don't know, that duet is about Adrian Savage and Layla Fitzgerald, who are both singers, and they end up going on tour together. They do not like each other at first, and it definitely has a little bit of like right person, wrong time kind of thing. Like, they both have such attraction to each other, but they're annoyed that they have this attraction. And then like when one person is on the right page, then the other one isn't. And so you do get that like back and forth of like, I am attracted to you, but I don't want to be attracted to you. But now I can't help it and I want to be with you, but now you've pissed me off. And you get that like back and forth, and it's so good. And then you also get a fake dating element in there as well, because they are put together by the press, and it's so good. It's so, honestly, so good, and the audiobooks are done so incredibly well. So if you get the chance to read The Hate Love Duet by Lauren Rowe on audio, I would definitely recommend it, as well as Smitten, Swoon, and Rockstar. The next one that I have is another one that has music in it, and that is Real by Kennedy Ryan. So Real by Kennedy Ryan is a forbidden director-actress romance. The director canon is making a movie about the Harlem Renaissance. He hires Neva to be the actress that plays this character named Desi Blue in the movie, and they have an attraction to each other and they fall in love, but it's a little bit forbidden because Cannon has had previous relationships with people on his movie set and it's not ended well, and so he doesn't really want to go there, but they can't help it. Their attraction to each other is too strong. They have this really deep connection and it's a really, really amazing book. Neva also has lupus, so there's a chronic illness representation element in there, and it's so incredibly well done. And in this audiobook, you have basically 3 characters. You have Neva, you have Cannon, and then you also have Desi Blue, who is the character that Neva is playing. And Desi Blue was a musician and she sings in the audiobook, and it is so, so good, so well done. The emotion that's portrayed through this audiobook is immaculate. This audiobook like won awards for Kennedy Ryan, and it is so well done. The narrator that does Cannon's voice is named Jacoby Diem, and he is one of my favorite male narrators, and he does a lot of Kennedy Ryan's books. His voice is so smooth and easy to listen to, and it's just a sexy voice. It's a sexy voice, and I really, really love the way that he does his narration, and he brings so much emotion to his voices, and it's so well done, and I would definitely recommend it. Another one that I have is that I absolutely love on audio is Blindsided by Amy Dawes. This one, I love an accent. I have always loved an accent. I literally went to Ireland for study abroad when I was in college and lived there for 6 months, and one of the main draws of Ireland was because their accents are awesome. So I love an accent, and in this book, Blindsided, the heroine Freya is Cornish and the hero Mac is Scottish, and so they both have accents, and Will Watt, the narrator who does Mac, his Scottish accent is amazing, and I love their voices in this. It's so, so good. If you don't know, this is a friends to lovers romance that's also a sports romance because Mac is a professional soccer player. They call it football because it takes place in England, but he plays for Bethnal Green, and he is a famous soccer player, and it's a friends to lovers, sex lessons romance with a curvy heroine, and I just love this so, so much. It's one of my comfort books for sure. I have listened to this audiobook so many times. This is one of those times, this was the first time that I had heard Will Watt, and this was one of those times where I literally looked up books through the narrator, which is something that people do, but I rarely ever do that. But I did that with Will Watt. I literally looked up on Audible his name and bought books because he was the narrator, and his voice is just so well done. His Scottish accent is not real, like he's not Scottish in real life, and so other books that he narrates are not Scottish, but he has a couple of other ones that he does in a Scottish accent that I literally went and listened to because I was like, I need more Will Watt Scottish accent in my life. Would definitely recommend this audiobook. The next one that I have is the Mate Games series by Kayla Rain and Meg Ann. This series is a paranormal why choose romance series, and it's a little chaotic. It's very out there. Is it the best book I've ever read? No. Was it super fucking entertaining? Absolutely. And this series, I don't think I would have liked this book if it wasn't on audio. This series is narrated with a full cast, and it's so good. So the first book in the series is called Obsession, and this one is about a heroine who goes to this school, ends up meeting a bunch of different guys and having multiple fated mates, and it's so good. It's so good. And the heroine and each one of her mates, who I believe she has 4, all have different narrators, and multiple of them have accents. One is British, one is Irish, one is like a Viking, and he has like a really interesting accent, and it is just so, so well done. This audiobook was produced so incredibly well, and it made the story so interesting because all of the heroes had different voices, and because their accents were all very different, you were able to recognize who was talking at what point without like them having to say what character it was. And it was so easily distinguishable between each of the heroes. It made their personalities so much more distinguishable because you knew exactly who was talking. And it just was such a freaking fun audiobook to listen to. This series was really fun, and I actually would really recommend this series. The follow-up series, which is the Make Game Pestilence, I don't like as much, but that series is also narrated with a full cast. But this series is so good. The first book is Obsession, and it's so good. It's so good. And in this one, you do get a lot of different tropes in it, because you get like a cinnamon roll hero, you get a grumpy hero, you get like a sort of friends to lovers type of moment, you get a age gap forbidden student teacher one, and it's really, really good, and I would definitely recommend checking out this audiobook. The last one that I wanted to talk about that I personally think is better on audio is God of Fury by Rena Kent. This is book 5, I think, in the Legacy of God series, and you could read this as a standalone. I would recommend the rest of the series, but they do take place at the same time, or at least part of them do take place at the same time. So I do think that you could understand what was happening if you read them out of order, but I would highly recommend this audiobook. This is an MM romance where it has an enemies to lovers element to it. One of the heroes is the head of this organization on campus. Basically, there are these two colleges that are fully rivals, and they have these like societies on them, and they are run by children of powerful people, mafia, rich people, that kind of thing. And the two colleges don't get along. And Nico is one of the heroes, and he is the second to one of the societies on one college, and then the other hero, Brandon, is the twin brother to the head of the society in the other campus. I hope that made sense. So there is an enemies to lovers element because they are like natural enemies because their families don't get along. However, they have a strong attraction to each other, but Brandon is incredibly damaged. He has a lot of trauma in his past. He is really struggling with his mental health, and one of the ways that he works through his mental health or finds some sort of balance with his mental health is to stick to routines. He is a routine-oriented person because it helps calm his brain. And Nico is a super chaotic person. He has this very chaotic, almost like a bipolar type of energy to him, and he has these chaotic episodes. And they both deal with trauma, they both deal with mental health, and they have this attraction to each other. They end up forming a romance, and their romance is utterly gorgeous. This was one of my top favorite books of 2023. This romance, the way that mental health is discussed in here, is so fucking good. I love this, and I would highly, highly recommend this book and the audiobook. So this one does also have multiple narrators because there are 2 female narrators and 2 male narrators. So the 2 male narrators narrate the Nico and Brandon, and then they do all of the like male side characters. And then there are 2 female narrators. I believe there's a British female narrator and a American female narrator. Teddy Hamilton and Shane East are the 2 male narrators. And these are 2 of my 100% top favorite narrators. Teddy Hamilton is probably my #1 favorite narrator, just like not even like male, female, just #1 favorite narrator. I love his voice. I am obsessed with the way that he narrates books. I think that he is just absolutely fabulous, but the way that he does this one with Shane East is so incredibly well done. It is so incredibly well done. I was dying while listening to this book, and I think the emotion that they bring to the story, especially with such a dark, heavy story, is so, so good. It's so, so good. The 2 female narrators are Mackenzie Cartwright and Zara Hampton Brown, who are both ones that I have listened to in other books, and they are both also incredibly talented narrators, but Shane East and Teddy Hamilton steal the show in this one. They are the main characters, and they are amazing, and this book is so good on audio. Would highly recommend it. So now I want to just talk about some of my favorite narrators. So like I said, Teddy Hamilton is one of my favorite narrators of all time, probably my #1 favorite narrator. He narrates so many books. I was actually lucky enough to join Jess from Peace Love Books to interview Teddy Hamilton on her channel. She asked me to join her, and I was so excited about that. So it was really amazing to talk to him and hear about his process. I will try and link that interview down below. If it's saved on Jess's channel, I'll look for it and link it down below if you haven't seen it. But Jess did a whole like series of narrator interviews, which I thought were so amazing, and I think are so cool. But I was so excited to join and talk to Teddy Hamilton because he is just a genius. I love the way he narrates books, and #1 favorite. He's so good. And then some of my other favorites are Jacob Morgan. I love Jacob Morgan's voice. He does so many. He is also Zachary Weber. So if you see Zachary Weber, that is also Jacob Morgan. So any book that's narrated by him, he always does a good job. I have not ever read a book where he has done a bad job. He is so good. To talk about some of my favorite female narrators, CJ Bloom, who is also Carly Robbins, that she is so good. I've actually met her, and she is an absolute sweetheart in real life. I got to meet her at the Ripped Bodice when we were both there for a Chloe Lease event, and I got to talk to her for a while and tell her how much audiobooks mean to me, and she was just so nice, and we talked for like an hour. It was great I waited in line with her, and she was just absolutely so nice, and I love so many of her audiobooks, and the way that she does them is so good. And honestly, one of my favorite like pairings is CJ Bloom and Teddy Hamilton. So whenever I see that pairing, it's always one that I like add to my wish list, and I'm like, ooh, that is an audiobook that I want to check out. Another one of my favorite narrators is Savannah Peachwood. I love her voice. I fell in love with her during a Serena Bowen book. I fell in love with Savannah Peachwood during Overnight Sensation by Serena Bowen. That one is a hockey romance that's narrated by Jason Clark and Savannah Peachwood. Jason Clark is another really amazing narrator, but that one where she voices Heidi, I fell in love with her voice, and every time I hear a book narrated by her, I think back to her performance as Heidi because it was just that memorable and that well done. So if you haven't listened to Overnight Sensation by Serena Bowen, I would definitely recommend it. Savannah Peachwood, she does so many audiobooks. She actually did Reckless, which is one of my all-time favorite books. It was one of my top favorite books of last year. That one is book 5 in the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, but she does so many amazing audiobooks, and again, if you haven't listened to her, would definitely recommend her. But I think that that's all the ones that I'm going to go into right now. I can do a whole nother video on audiobooks and more of my favorite audiobooks if you would be interested in that, but this one I just wanted to do like a brief overview of like some of my favorite audiobooks that are better as audiobooks and some of my favorite narrators. So again, if you would like more on audiobooks from me, I would love to talk more about them because like I said, I read 99% of my books on audio, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks, or if you want like tips and tricks on how to like find some cheaper audiobooks, I could definitely talk more about that as well. So let me know down in the comments if you would like more like that from me. But like this video if you liked it, subscribe, stick around, see more content from me. Let me know in the comments what is a favorite audiobook that you've listened to, and leave me, we just did the headphone emoji for one of my other videos, so what emoji should we do today? Instead of the headphone emoji, let's do the microphone emoji. I think that'll be fun. That is gonna be it for this video, so I hope that you have the absolute best day. Bye.